Hello, Toxic Avenger fans. Exciting news for you. This podcast features an exclusive audio clip from The Toxic Avenger in theaters August 29th. Stick around after the end of the episode to hear a new clip from the movie that you won't hear anywhere else. Then get some friends together for an unrated, totally gnarly day at the movies this August 29th. Okay, enjoy your podcast.
I'm no tech genius, but I knew if I wanted my business to crush it, I needed a website now. Thankfully, Bluehost made it easy. I customized, optimized, and monetized everything exactly how I wanted with AI. In minutes, my site was up. I couldn't believe it. The search engine tools even helped me get more site visitors. Whatever your passion project is, you can set it up with Bluehost. With their 30-day money-back guarantee, what do you got to lose? Head to Bluehost.com. That's BLUEHOST.com to start now.
Hello, and welcome to this bonus episode of Scare You to Sleep. I'm your host, Shelby Novak, and I'm going to answer many of your burning questions and voicemails you've sent in from around the world. Thank you so much for those of you who sent in questions. I received so many. I actually had to whittle it down to 60 questions, and I have a lot of fun voicemails that didn't contain questions that I'll be playing and commenting on at the end. We have a lot to get to. Some very personal, and some very podcast related, and some about the paranormal, and a lot about food and baking. So, let's get started, shall we? I sprinkled the handful of voicemail questions I got throughout. Mostly, I got questions in the anonymous form. But let's start with this first voicemail from longtime listener, Josh.
Hi, Shelby. This is Josh Rowe. I just wanted to ask you a question. I asked this question to my significant other, if I have one, or my friends when we have a bonfire or a cookout or something, or a gathering. I always ask, what was your favorite memory of your day? And if it's too early in the day when you're recording this, what was your favorite memory of your week? Thank you for everything you do. See ya.
That is such a lovely question. That's why I wanted to start with it. It's so sweet. My favorite memory of my day was, I believe, when the man who came to insulate the plumbing in my crawl space left. Lovely gentleman, but I've been dealing with these plumbing issues for over a week now, and that was kind of almost the final touch. The last final touch will be patching up the holes in my wall, but that was the last of the really intrusive work. So that was my favorite part of my day. I guess it's not super exciting, but it's honest. Next question. What's your absolute go-to brownie recipe, and do you believe in the afterlife? This cracked me up because, I don't know, just the juxtaposition of brownie recipe and afterlife. I don't have a go-to brownie recipe. I would love one if you have one. I tend to kind of skip around. I've never found one that has me returning to it. To be completely honest, brownies are the last bastion of things that I really love the box version of. I will say, love a Duncan Hines brownie, box brownie, love a Ghirardelli, the one with the caramel. Yeah, and so if you have a favorite from scratch brownie recipe though, please let me know. And do you believe in the afterlife? I think I do. I've mentioned on the show that I feel like I don't feel like I know enough. I am but a human to know whether there is one or not. It brings me a lot of comfort to think there is. There are times where I need to believe in one, especially when I lose someone. or even a pet, and it brings me comfort to think there is one, but I couldn't say for sure. Yeah, that's my answer. I'd like to believe there is one, or some sort of something, maybe not like a biblical heaven sort of thing, but something that our souls go to. Do you believe in ghosts? This is kind of similar to the last one a little bit, I guess, because I guess if you believe in an afterlife, I guess not necessarily believe in ghosts, but if you believe in ghosts, you do believe in an afterlife. And I do believe in ghosts, but similarly to my first answer, I don't know what they are. I don't know if it's some sort of residual energy left behind that feels like a haunting. I don't know if they're intelligent, but then, I've seen evidence that feels like intelligent hauntings. So maybe there is. Maybe it's a bleed over from a different dimension. And it's, or time is not linear according to science. According to science, time is not linear, I believe. I could be getting that wrong, but I feel like that's what I've heard and read. And if it's not, then maybe it's, again, a bleed over from a different time. I don't know. I don't know. But it's very fascinating to me. And I think that's what's so fascinating about it, is that I don't know. I don't have a definitive, this was clearly the work of a demon, or this is clearly a haunting. This is, Great Aunt Ethel coming back to say hello. I don't know. I'm not sure. There have been times I've had experiences that are unexplainable. I think there's a question about that a little later, so I'll save that. But yeah, sorry for the I don't know, but I just don't feel like I'm in the grand scheme of things, I'm very small and I don't have all the answers. And I feel like it takes a lot of hubris to think you do. But I don't want to knock anyone who thinks they do, because there's a lot of power in the faith in faith in general, and thinking this is the answer. And I know a lot of people have a lot of comfort in that. So I don't want to say that you're wrong. I just don't know. Maybe you're right. Maybe this guy over here is right. Maybe this person over here is right. I don't know. But it's so interesting to research, and someday I guess I'll find out. Someday we'll all find out. This next question, I'm going to admit, it made me incredibly angry. Incredibly angry. It's not the first time I've gotten this question. I've gotten this question across social media. I've gotten it emailed to me. I've even had it sent to me or posted on my precious reddit.com. My precious. And I don't really understand it. And again, it makes me angry. It really does. And I could be maybe a little nicer about that and be like, oh, I know you mean well, but I'm just going to be completely honest. That's what I wanted to do this Q&A for. This question makes me angry. And I know that you don't have all the context and you don't have all the facts. So there's no way for you to know that this would have made me very angry. So I'm going to give you more context and I'm going to give you more facts. The question is, and this is the one I received on the anonymous form, but I've received the same question in worded various ways. I miss Shelby Scott. Sounded more mysterious. Love ya. And this is what I have to say about that. I was given that name by someone who I loved and trusted with my whole heart for many years. And the person who gave me that name, it turned out, had several girlfriends over the last few years, spent all of my money, and disappeared to, this is going to sound like a joke, it's not, disappeared to Switzerland for several months, where I could not reach or find them, under the guise of having work there, which it turned out was lying about working for about a year, and spent all of my money on these girlfriends and this lavish trip. After years of begging to maybe someday have a honeymoon of my own, because I never got a honeymoon. After years of putting up with a lot of things that I won't go into detail about on this show, because it's just something that's too painful to unpack. But those few things are only the half of it. And when someone like that gives you a name, the first thing I wanted to do was give it back. And I did. And I got rid of it. And honestly, Novak, I've been a Novak longer than I ever was a Scott. And so I got my name back, my real name back, and I'm never giving it away again. I'm never taking anyone else's name again. No matter how in love I ever am, no matter if I ever get married again or anything. And it means a lot. It meant a lot to me to get my name back after the name I was given oh my God, my hands are shaking. Causing so much hurt. I've done a lot of healing over the last year. This is not something that I actively think about every day. But when I get questions like this, I have to think about it because it brings it back up to the top of my mind. And I do not understand why almost or more than a year later, someone would ever ask why I got rid of my cooler name, my more mysterious name in this instance. Someone else said it was cooler. Someone else said it was, I don't remember what the descriptive word they use for it, but apparently it sounded better that way. It is an alliteration, sure, but I'm sorry that I'm not sorry that it's gone. And I understand that you didn't have context for why it would be so painful to ask that question and why it would make me so angry. So now you do. And please don't ask again, please, because now you know. And that's that. And there's a little tea for those of you who have been wondering what happened. Again, it's not the half of it, but there's some of it. I think that's enough of it to give you an idea of why this question would upset me. And now we're going to move on from that. I'm going to pop open a Diet Coke actually real quick and let my nervous system calm down for just a second, and we will be back. Well, I'll be back in not even any time because I'm going to edit this, but BRB. And I'm back. Let's do something a little more softball, shall we? Hello, a huge fan of the podcast and your voice. Thank you. So, is there a story behind the creation of your current logo for the podcast? How did you create it? Hope you have a nice day ahead. Thank you. And the current logo I created, now it's going to be 7 years ago, in Canva, which I still use for a lot of stuff. And I just sort of created it myself. I'm not the best graphic designer, but I threw it together because I needed a logo. I went through a few different iterations for the logo that were a little, some of them were a little more mysterious. I had the moon and stuff like that. But then I realized I wanted something that really stood out in the app store, or not app store, but the podcast app stuff. I started scrolling through Spotify and my podcatcher and Apple just to see which logo stood out to me. And it was stuff that was just big, here's the name of the podcast. And I also had no money, so I couldn't commission any art. So I just threw that together. And I've had a few people over the years send me ideas for new logos. None of them have stuck for me though. I don't know. It's not even that I'm super in love with the one that I created. It's not that. I don't think it's even that great, but I do want something that is just as, stand out-ish as this one. And I just haven't found something yet. And I honestly have not made it a priority to change it. And do you think I should change it? Let me know. Do you like the current one? Do you think it's a little dated now? It has been 7 years, but let me know. I just don't even think about it, honestly. Next question. Where would you put yourself on the Kinsey scale? 0 being totally straight and 6 being totally gay. 2.5 or a 3, somewhere in there. 2.75. Is that allowed? Can I do fractions? There you go. 2.75. Next question. Any updates on Skin Crawl or Nightmare Soup? New episodes, are they all done? This is a great question. I am not on the cast or crew of Nightmare Soup. So I'm not sure about Nightmare Soup. I was only a voice actor. So if they're done, I wouldn't know. You can maybe look at the show notes and see who the showrunners are, and you can ask them on social media. And as for Skin Crawl unfortunately is done. The creator Skinner didn't want to pursue any more episodes for totally understandable reasons. And so unfortunately Skin Crawl is a singular season special little thing. And thank you so much for listening to both of those, though. They were both a joy to work on, especially Skin Crawl. I loved writing for that. I loved voice acting for Nightmare Soup. I didn't do any voice acting for Skin Crawl. I only wrote and not only show running it and writing for it was a task in and of itself, and I got to cast people and everything. It was a lot of fun. But no, that's over. Nightmare Soup, I'm not sure. I haven't gotten any emails about doing any more voices, so maybe it's done. I don't know. But thank you for that question. I appreciate you following my other work elsewhere, so that means a lot. Hi, Shelby. Hope you're well. Love the podcast. I've listened to every episode, and I noticed that most stories are written in first-person POV. Are they easier to narrate than third-person POV? Which ones do you prefer? This is an interesting question because, for one, I would not say they're easier to narrate. I could read a phone book. I have a pretty easy time at narrating. It's something that it's one of those weird little talents that I never knew I had until I started doing this podcast. I'm not saying I'm like the best at it. It's just I have a pretty easy time reading things out loud. But so the one thing I have noticed, and I learned this from Book Talk, from TikTok's book section, apparently POV stories are just more popular these days. There is a whole thing, it upset me a little bit, but there's like a whole movement of people who refuse to read books that aren't in a first-person POV, or it's just first person. We can just say first person. But, and it's like a thing right now, and I don't know if I don't know, I could probably write a whole dissertation on why I think it might be. Like, maybe people have to, they have to be able to see themselves in these characters. I don't know. There's a whole, there's a lot to say about things like that. People get upset about unperfect narrators or protagonists. They think you're condoning their actions. I get that complaint every once in a while on my show because sometimes the bad guys are telling the story. What can you say? But anyway, I do get it. I think I just get a lot of them. I don't really prefer any of them. First person is a little easier in that I don't have to do several different voices. So, and I've said that I do know my strengths, and my strengths don't necessarily lie in doing a lot of great different voices. So I try to change my voice little bits without it sounding cartoony when I have different characters. So POV does lend to that in that I'm only doing one voice throughout. But other than that, I don't have a preference for any first person, third person. I really don't. But thank you. I was excited to explain that whole thing. So thank you for that question. Next question. What was your favorite movie, horror or not, of 2024? What has been your favorite so far this year? Also, thanks so much for your wonderful storytelling. You have made falling asleep so much easier, and I always look forward to it. Keep up the great work, Shelby. Thank you so much. So, of 2024, I would say, for horror, my two favorite horror movies, I'll keep it to like two. Horror movies would be Oddity and The Substance. For non-horror, I would say The Brutalist and Conclave. And for this year, or you know what, actually, I'm sorry, let me throw Nosferatu in there. I lied. 3. Nosferatu is also one of my favorite horrors of last year. I forgot that was 2024. It was so late in the year. For this year so far, I would say Sinners is my favorite movie of the year so far that I have seen. For sure. I was absolutely blown away by it. Absolutely blown away. So thank you for your question. Next, I almost said caller. This is a text message. And this one, I'm so excited for this one. This, Shelby, hello. I've been a huge fan of your show for years, and I especially love your original stories. My hands down favorite is Frosting. My husband and I, this is great. My husband and I loved it so much. We keep a version of Pam in our fridge. Please see picture. Everyone, I'm going to post this picture on social media along with the post for this episode. It is hilarious. I told her that I let out the worst squawking sound when I saw it. It was so funny. It's great. It made me so happy too. Oh my God. My question to you, is there a particular story or character that you relate to most? Are there any stories that were inspired by your own experiences? I've always wondered because all your stories are so wonderfully different. I look forward to Scare You to Sleep when I cook Sunday dinner. Thank you for all that you do, Jen C. Thank you, Jen. And again, I will post that picture. It's hilarious. And I got Jen's permission to post the picture. So I told her I didn't want to dox the inside of her fridge without permission. So I did get permission from Jen. So I think I put a little bit of me in a lot of my stories. And sometimes I talked about this I was a guest on Social Seance Society, that podcast. And we talked about this and I told them I did a stint on the Creepy podcast a couple years ago where I wrote, I think 4 or 5 stories for his show. And they were all it was a special release. They've never been on my show just because I feel like John's my friend, so I want him to keep his special episodes. So if you ever want to listen to them, go look up Creepy Presents Scare You to Sleep, I think is the title of the series. But it was right before my marriage crumbled into pieces. And I think I sensed things were happening. I think I sensed the end because looking back on those stories, I looked back on them pretty recently within the last few months. I reread a lot of them. I didn't re-listen, but I was rereading them. Sometimes I like to go through my original stories and just reread them and see kind of where my work has gone and how it's grown and what's different about it. But those particular stories, those 4 or 5, because I wrote them all week to week. I wrote them all at once, essentially. And they all have a very clear theme of women scorned a little bit, and also of loneliness. And there's a couple in there. There's one in there about influencers on a cruise ship that was just pretty silly and fun and sci-fi-ish. But so I wouldn't say that one, but I definitely saw a theme in my own work, which is hard, I think, maybe for writers ourselves to see themes in our own work because we're so close to the material. But like I said, this one, I had written them a couple years ago. I had gone through a lot since then, and reading back, I was oh, it was my subconscious was trying to speak to me through my own work. It was really interesting to see. And yeah, there have been pieces of me and characters I relate to in my stories. I honestly feel it's a little personal to tell you who and which. Friends of mine may be able to pick it up, but I don't, maybe even not, because there are certain stories where I really unpack some deep-seated darkness, some deep-seated thoughts, some things that I'm working through very personally. I like to say I'm an open book, but with certain things, I'm a pretty private person to the point where no one knows these things. Only I do. I don't tell my friends certain things. And I definitely am not someone who spills everything to everyone. I'm really not. And so there are certain things in certain stories that only I know are parts of me, and only I will probably ever know. So sorry to be so coy about it, or I'm not trying to be mysterious, but that's an honest answer. And I do think there are a lot of pieces of me throughout all these stories just kind of shattered around. Not all of them, not every story, not every character, but quite a few of them. I will say, if you're a writer and you haven't recently, I recommend going back through your old work and remembering when you wrote that and looking at what your life was what you were going through in life at that time, to see if you see any correlations, because it's really interesting. And I do feel some people don't write from their heart and they don't put pieces of themselves in it. And I feel that's apparent. I can really tell when someone's writing because they just want to write a horror story, because they just want to write something scary. And this goes for all genres. It's just that I don't know if you've noticed, I work mostly in horror, but I can tell when people don't put a piece of themselves in it. It doesn't even necessarily make it bad, but it's different. It's definitely different. And I can feel it. And I don't know, maybe you as listeners can too. I'm not sure. Okay, thank you for that question. And again, you just made my whole week seeing that picture of Pam in your fridge. Next question. I got a few of these. These were some of them that I whittled down because I got this question a couple times. I think I actually forgot a couple that are similar around in here. When are we getting a spicy page? I get asked this all the time, especially when I do that NGL thing I've mentioned on Instagram every once in a while when I'm bored, and I let people ask me, or not ask me, it's not a Q&A, it's just for people to send comments to, if they so choose. A lot of people ask this. A lot of people make this comment. I appreciate you feeling that I am qualified for something like that. It's not something that I'm looking to do at this current stage of my life. And I'm in full support of anyone who does. Full 1000% support of consenting adults doing whatever they will and making their money however they want to. This was something, you know what, never mind. Actually, I was going to say something that was a little, I left that in my youth. I'll just say that. I left that in my youth. Dearest Shelby, longtime listener and huge fan of your work, my question is, would you ever consider doing a live show and meet and greet? It would be amazing to listen to your incredible voice in person. Thanks. Thank you. I've done a live show before. It was a few years ago now. Wow, it was a few years ago. Dang, it's been years. I did a live show in Chicago with the Creepy Podcast and SCP Archives. The three of us did a show together, and we did a meet and greet. We had VIP tickets where we did a meet and greet, and that was honestly one of the best experiences of my whole life. I don't know if some of you are listening who were there. Like, I think about that on and off still. It changed my brain chemistry. It was incredible getting to speak to you in person and finding out how much my show meant to you and taking pictures with people. And it was incredible. It was incredible. And I would love to do another one. I don't know if my show's big enough to do live shows on my own. Like I said, we combined it with 2 other shows last time. And I don't know. I've never really been approached about it by any sort of, there are a lot of podcast companies that facilitate podcasters doing tours and doing live shows. And I've never been approached by one. So I'm not sure. Maybe it's the size of my show. I don't know. But I would love to. I would absolutely love to. We've talked about it. I've talked about it with my 2 buddies from SCP Archives and Creepy. And we've talked about potentially doing it again. It's just, I don't know. I don't know why we haven't. It's like an upfront cost thing, and it's it honestly comes down to money, unfortunately. But hell, I would love to just do something like that for free and just meet everybody at some point. But we'll see. I would love to do something like that because meeting people makes me so happy. And yeah. So sorry for the not great definitive answer. I would love to. Maybe if you all flood Bloody FM or whatever, flood all their social media with like, let Shelby do a live show. I don't know. Maybe that'll work. I have no idea. I honestly have no idea. Okay, next up is a voicemail from Monica.
Hey Shelby, this is Monica, longtime listener. I love the show. I've actually got a couple of questions for you. The first one pertaining to the show. You often criticize the work that you did earlier on in Scare You to Sleep, and I'm curious if you've ever had the urge to go back and reproduce some of the episodes. The All-Mill Swamp Tour would be fantastic to hear redone by you. Even Teeth. Teeth is my absolute favorite. So just curious what your thoughts are on that, or if you're just going to abandon those and move forward with new material. Second question, I'm a Yuma, Arizona girl, and knowing that you grew up in Imperial Valley, I'm curious if you ever made it out to the sand dunes for some teenage shenanigans, and what your favorite sand dunes story is if you made it out there. That is all. Thank you again for everything you do, for the effort, the love, and for scaring us to sleep. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Monica. Monica, you have no idea how excited I was to get this one. I told my parents about it. I was just like, oh my God, someone from Yuma, like, called in, and they knew what, like, I know when you know what the Imperial I grew up in is, when you say Imperial Valley, like, you're actually really familiar with it. A lot of people think I mean like Imperial Beach, and when I say where I'm from, a lot of people don't know what the heck it is, and so it made me so happy. Hello in Yuma. For those who don't know, Yuma is, I grew up in Imperial, which is in California, the bottom right-hand corner of California, right on the border of Mexico, but it's also near the border of Arizona. We're like literally in the little corner. And so Yuma isn't that far away. So I went to Yuma a lot growing up. My mom went to school in Winter Haven, and so I went to, and my grandparents lived in Bard for a while. So many people are like, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about, but Monica does. So, and this is Monica's question. Anyway, so you had a two-part kind of question. I'll answer the funny one first. There were a lot of teenage shenanigans that happened out in the sand dunes. Like, you guys, when I say I'm from the desert, I'm from the desert. They film a lot of, like, when it's set in the Middle East or on Mars, that's where they film it where I'm from. I'm from the real, like, Bugs Bunny seeing a mirage in the desert. And so is Monica. Anyway, I did not do a lot of shenanigans in the dunes. I was a really nerdy, shy kid, and that was same when I was a teenager. I didn't get invited to parties. I didn't get invited to parties. I didn't get invited a lot to the sand dunes, and I was terrified of the shenanigans in the sand dunes because around the time when I was growing up, there were a couple very bad accidents and deaths in the sand dunes from people around my age, and it's very tragic. I knew one of them. I knew another one from, like, through people. I mean, it's a very small town. It's a very small community. So, and so I was a little bit scared, I have to be honest, but there's that. But your other question, if I'm going to I'm not going to abandon those first ones. I would love to redo O'Male Swamp Tour and Limes, and what else was, those are two that I definitely will redo. If there are any of the other earlier ones that you might want a remastered version of, I'm happy to do, because I would love to give those guys another shot. A lot of people listen to them and they're their favorites, and I did not sound great back then, and I wasn't that great at anything. I still, when I recorded the first O'Male Swamp Tour, I didn't have a pop filter for my microphone, so I used a sock from my sock drawer. So if you like the O'Male Swamp Tour Part 1, I think it was for Part 2 as well, you're hearing me talk through a sock. So that's a little fun bonus Q&A answer. But yeah, I would have not abandoned it. I just, it's hard to find the time. I would have to maybe release them as bonus episodes, maybe. So yeah, I haven't abandoned it. I just haven't gotten around to it. And thank you for calling in. Thank you so much. Next question. What stereotypical horror scenario do you think is overrated, outdated, and or used too often? Also, what horror movie do you think you'd have the best chance of surviving in? What one do you think you'd have no chance of surviving in? I love your show and personality. Amazing work. Thank you. That's really nice to compliment my personality. I appreciate that. Wow, overrated, outdated, or used too often. Horror has a lot of tropes, and I think the fun thing about horror is that those tropes have gotten so tropey that they've whipped around to, like, fun and comforting. So I can't think of one that I, like, roll my eyes at, and I'm like, ugh, here we go. I really can't think of one. I think if there any sort of thing that's, like, overdone can be done well if it's in the right hands. But I also, there are some things that when it's not it's not in the right hands, and it's done real bad. Let's see, what horror movie do you think you have the best chance of surviving in? Look, I don't have a lot of faith in myself. I would say maybe like anything where it's like, don't go in the basement. I won't go in the basement. That's don't worry about me. I won't be going in the basement. I think like slashers, maybe I have a good chance because again, from Monica's question, as a teenager, I didn't get invited to a lot of parties. So I was like, while the hot, sexy teens are out getting murdered for like being hot and sexy, I was not. I was at home reading a book or painting or writing a story that was very derivative Anne Rice about a bunch of immortals, beautiful immortals with superpowers. I was doing that. But maybe a slasher, I think, maybe not. I don't know. And there was another one. What movie do you think you'd have no chance of surviving in? We actually just talked about this on the Bloody Disgusting podcast. We had this whole conversation recently. It was in the episode titled, it just came out. Oh, it's something like We're Not Serious. I think that's what it's called. If you want to hear us all talk about that in depth. But my answer then was stuff like Skinamarink, Hell House LLC, Grave Encounters, anything where like it gets so supernatural that you're basically not on Earth anymore. Like Grave Encounters starts out as like they're doing the ghost show, they're being locked in the hospital, but like halfway through the movie, it doesn't even matter. There are locks on the doors. Like they're like, no, they're not there. Same Hell House LLC, same kind of thing. Anything like that gets like that. I don't want to get too spoilery, but yeah, those types of movies, I would not at all survive because I'd be wherever you go in those movies. And next, personally, what's your favorite story that you've narrated on the show? Mine personally would be the one with the dark fish, if you remember that one. I do remember that one. Personally, what's your favorite story? Probably, it's a fan favorite, but stuff like Frosting, God Will Provide. I know I'm listing my own stories. That's so, like, cheesy of me. But it's true. Like, Frosting was a lot of fun. I think Frosting and Bug Out were both stories that I recorded at, like, 2 or 3 in the morning. And I felt crazed, and the characters were kind of crazed, and it just worked so well. Like, Bug Out, I think I had a fever of, like, 103 degrees when I recorded it. I say it in the episode. And I was just, like, feverish, and again, I think, I know it's my own story, so maybe it's cheesy, but I think it's because, like a previous question, I see myself in some of these characters so much, and they feel so personal that they feel a little more natural to narrate. There are some stories that I really love the stories, but I have to do so many takes because they're written in a way that I just don't speak, and they have a cadence to them that it just doesn't come out of me naturally. And so I have to do a lot of takes because I'm just like losing myself and I've spoken about getting mush mouth, and I'm just getting mush mouth, and it's like my mouth doesn't want to form the words properly. So I think if I've written it myself, it just flows a little easier when it comes to stuff like that. So yeah, those. Next question. I don't remember seeing this when I was going through these questions. I honestly don't. There are so many that I think some of them got a little buried in this spreadsheet that I just put them all on a spreadsheet, like without reading them, and then started reading them. Anyway, how are things going on the dating scene? Are you back into the swing of things or taking something of a hiatus before going back? Also, what would be your ideal first date? No, I'm not dating, but like not because I'm not dating. I think I've talked about this before, maybe in a ramble or something, but like maybe it wasn't a ramble I deleted. Sometimes I do rambles for Patreon and then I delete them because I feel like I sound insufferable. I don't want to do dating apps. I know they work for some people. For me, they make me feel incredibly vulnerable. I have a lot of trust issues, obviously. You heard that at the top of the episode, why I could have a lot of trust issues. I'm enjoying my time in my solitude a lot. And so it's been nice to just figure out who I am without a partner. I think it's really important. I'm not going to like say you're wrong if you don't take this time to yourself. Obviously, some of you found your soulmates right off the bat, and like, good for you. Like, I love that for you. But like, some of us didn't. And I think if we didn't, it's important to take a lot of time to yourself. I really do. I would recommend this to anyone who goes through a breakup from a long-term relationship. I've really enjoyed this time. Sure, there are lonely nights. Of course, there are lonely times, and there are times where I'm on my couch and I'm like, man, it'd be really great to have a pair of arms around me right now, or, like when I'm sick, times when you feel a little vulnerable. But none of that outweighs the joy I've found in learning who I am and learning how strong I can be and learning that I can do everything on my own and I don't need someone. And I personally, I'm not saying this for everyone, but I personally needed to find that out. I needed to figure that out about myself. I needed to figure out the pattern of my past relationships and what I did wrong and what they did wrong that I ignored, and, really learn myself. So at the moment, I'm not looking to date. Again, I really don't think I'll ever do a dating apps. Like, I think I'd rather be single for the rest of my life than do a dating app. It does not appeal to me in any way. Again, if you love it, that's great. It's just not for me. But if someone, were to walk in right now and be amazing, I would also not be like, I'm not dating right now. I'm open to dating if someone comes along who's great. But I haven't really had that many opportunities. Like, it just hasn't come up much organically, which I've heard is a problem these days. Like, no one gets approached very often. So I don't know. I read this really great thing. It's a book. I gotta admit, I didn't read the whole book, and I cannot remember the woman's name who wrote it, but she basically posed the question to ask of yourself, like, look at your life and imagine, do a thought exercise. I love thought exercises. Imagine if you never find someone else and you are in this scenario in your head, you never find another partner for whatever reason. You're single for the rest of your life. What does your life look like if you somehow know you're never going to find another partner? And kind of live life like that. Don't live life to find someone to fill that void. Don't live life half of something. And I know it's a very cute term to say, you're my other half, or, you complete me, and those fun, silly, cheesy things that I also love. But realistically, you shouldn't live like that. I at least I don't think so. At least for me, okay, I don't want anyone to yell at me and say, I'm not trying to say anyone's living their life incorrectly. But for me, it really helped me because, again, I was not single from the time I was 15 years old. And I needed that. I needed to start living my life in a way that was just for me and not potentially for this potential maybe life I could have, or forcing a relationship just so one half of my bed isn't empty every night. And it's been really rewarding, and I feel like a whole person for the first time in my life. Honestly, I have more confidence than I've ever had in my life. I mean, I'm still insecure in a lot of ways, when it comes to my looks and stuff like that. But, I think that's just being human. But when it comes to my abilities and my personality, I don't know, things like that, I feel very confident in myself. I feel very, very comfortable with myself, and I like my own company. That's a good way of putting it. I really enjoy my own company these days, whereas I did not before. I used to be a very anxious, depressed person, and I hated myself constantly. I just hated myself, and I don't anymore. I don't hate myself anymore. Again, I deal with a lot of insecurities, especially when it comes to physical things, but inside the innards, mentally, I really love spending time with myself, and I rejoice on the nights where I'm just making some dumb, elaborate meal for just myself, and it's just me and Clara, and we're about to watch a really good show, and I'm about to have a beer or nibble on an edible and just fucking enjoy my evening. And there's no one I'm worried about where they are or what they're thinking about me, if they're thinking about me, things like that. It's been a really, really nice time. And again, that may change someday. Someone might sweep me off my feet, and I won't be opposed to it. I wouldn't be opposed to it. I love love. Valentine's Day is one of my favorite holidays. I love Valentine's Day. I love love so much. But the battle for me recently has been, honestly, it's not even a battle. I thought it would be more of a battle, but being single has been a joy. It's been a joy. It's been an absolute joy. But that's a very long answer to your question. These personal ones, sorry, they just get me. I don't talk about this out loud a ton. Obviously, I don't have someone here to talk to about it. Oh God. Oh, I sound like such a loser. I'm not, I promise. I don't know. Maybe you think I am, but that's fine. You can let me know on the next anonymous question form. Okay, next one. Do you like Marvel movies? I haven't seen most of them. I saw Iron Man 1 and 2. I fell asleep for Captain America at the movies, and they're just they're not for me. I like superheroes or whatever, but it's just not to my taste. I don't like really green screened things. I really don't. Yeah. And I was always more of a DC girly growing up. I used to have a belly button ring that had the Superman logo. I had this whole phase where I was into Superman when I was a teenager. But anyway, so I'm not caught up, basically. I was kind of sad because then stuff like WandaVision came out and everybody was like, oh, this is the greatest TV show. And I asked a friend of mine, I'm like, cool, can I just watch that? And she was like, no, you need to watch. And then she lists 30 hours worth of movies to watch before I would understand WandaVision. And I was like, no, never mind. When I was doing background acting, I worked on some Marvel stuff. God, their NDAs were strict. Woof. Anyway, up at the Disney Ranch, I worked on a show that never came out. It had Squirrel Girl in it and stuff. I don't think that show ever saw the light of day. I worked on The Runaways. Got groped on that set. We'll talk about that a different time. But anyway, yeah, so sorry if that was you were really hoping I loved Marvel. I just fell behind. I feel like I was in a relay race and I twisted my ankle. And by the time I got back up, everybody had lapped me. And it was I can't commit any time to this many hours of movies to understand each movie. You know what I mean? Oh, I saw Black Panther, too. I did see Black Panther. So that's 2 Iron Mans, a Black Panther, part of Captain America, but I fell asleep at the movies. And maybe there's another one rattling around in there. I don't know. Maybe the Avenger. Did I see the original Avengers? I feel like I did. I don't know. I didn't. Anyway, next question. Has Clara done any voice work in any Scare You to Sleep episodes? If so, which? I was listening to Green Thoughts by John Collier and Jasper Lestrange's Encrypted, and the cat holler bugs me because it doesn't sound right somehow. Same with the version of Dick Whittington's cat on another podcast I can't remember. Are there AI cat meows being used? Cats shouldn't be out of voice work in favor of artificial noises. Snort laugh. I agree. I hate AI with a passion. Stop asking ChatGPT for stuff. If it was just a tool to make spreadsheets or whatever, sure, but it's not. Stop asking it. It's incorrect about things. I've asked it things just to test it that I know definitive answers for, and it's fucking wrong. Okay, so stop. Anyway, no. Clara has not been on any episodes because she is a very, very quiet cat. Even her purrs are very, very quiet. In fact, when she purrs, when she's making biscuits and stuff, or when she's laying on me, you have to put your ear up to her, or you have to feel her belly or her neck to feel the purrs. But she's very quiet. In fact, when I first got her, my friend who I was with when I got her made the joke she's a podcast cat. She's the perfect podcast cat because she doesn't make any noise while you're recording. And so, yeah, but I have my parents' cat, Penny. She has been on an episode or two because she has the loudest purr known to man. It sounds like a truck, like a Mack truck. And so I recorded her once years ago, and she has been on a couple episodes if you hear cats purring, which hasn't come up very often, honestly. But so no, Clara has not, but it's just because she's very quiet. She's a very quiet little lady. Next, hello, I am the author of the true horror you once featured, the story about the woman who was in the creek. You said you thought she might be a crazy lady. Since this episode, I have been researching like crazy and have reached out to many people. Some people have even reached out to me, sending their experiences. I think I've finally figured out what this woman may be. If you want me to send you what I have found, I would love to. What I have found is truly terrifying. Anyway, my question was, am I able to use emails I've received from people in my true horror submission if I get their permission? Thank you. Yes, I do remember you. I remember that story. It was in Texas, I believe. And yes, if you get their permission, then totally I will do an update on the next true horror stories about what you found. I would love to. I think people were really interested in that story. I had a few people who were very interested in what that story was. So I do not remember which true horror that was in. I'm so sorry, but it was sometime. I'm sure some people here remember that story. So yeah, send it away. Thank you. This next one. If I were to sweep you off your feet and then take you to have a great date, how would I and where am I taking you? From a good old West Virginia boy. Actually, this is good because I think in that last one about dating, it asked what my perfect date would be. And I forgot to answer that part because I started waxing poetic about my singlehood. Well, good old West Virginia boy. God, my perfect date. Lord. I don't know. It's like, I want to say the movies because I love the movies, but the movies isn't a great date because you can't talk. Maybe a bookstore. Wandering around a bookstore would be great because I love bookstores. I love books. And it's a good way to like talk to each other and like just like, oh, have you read this? Or, oh, are you interested in this? And like finding each other's interests a little bit and kind of getting an idea of like how the conversation would flow. And, you know, if the conversation is, if the sparks are there or whatever, you know, I think that would be it. Like wandering around a bookstore. It's not very elaborate. And it's free, but that would probably, I mean, you could buy me a coffee. That'd be great if you could buy me an unsweetened latte. Maybe coconut milk would be great. Yeah, so there's that. I don't know, should I say like long walks on the beach? That's not a great first date, is it? Maybe it is for some people. I don't know. Walking around a bookstore, that would be mine. Yeah. Next one. Oh, didn't mean to put these both in a row. If I see you at a scare show, can I buy you a drink? I'd love to talk, with a little winky emoji. Yeah. As long as I can see the drink being made in front of me, as long as I can see the bartender pouring all the things into the cup, and you're not just walking up to me with a cup because a stranger danger. But yeah, I'd talk to someone. You can buy me a drink for sure. And I kind of made it a running joke on the show. Like, I won't tell you what happened with my divorce, but if you find me at a convention, buy me a drink and I'll tell you all about it. And now I told you a little bit about the divorce, but there's more. We could talk. Yeah, for sure. I don't know what you mean by scare show. If you mean like a Scare You to Sleep live show or like a horror convention. Do a lot of horror conventions. So, yeah. Next, I absolutely love your voice. Thank you. Keep it up. I will. Can we get a podcast with you reading famous novels? It depends on what you mean by famous novels. I've read some on this show, like I read like Turn of the Screw in full. On Patreon, I have Frankenstein available. But for the most part, they have to be in the public domain or I will get sued. And I don't know if I'd start a whole other podcast with famous novels. I don't know. I don't think there would be much of a call for that. I don't think many people would listen. So probably not, just because I don't think there's much of a want for it. Next. This is sweet. Feels weird to say out loud. Girl, you're hot. I'd love to watch you speak for hours. Is there a YouTube version of Scare You to Sleep we can make happen? And there's the one next to it. I put these two together on purpose. Out of a million questions you get, I hope this finds you. Can we get a Scare You to Sleep YouTube? There is a Scare You to Sleep YouTube, you guys. There is. I just don't upload videos that often. I was like on a roll for a little while. But there is a Scare You to Sleep YouTube. You can see me. There's a few older videos of me, speaking to the camera. And I should do more. I really should do more. I should do more video content. I've really thought about doing a whole separate like ASMR channel where I'm doing like not necessarily horror, but just like straight up ASMR, just because I enjoy ASMR so much. And I want to give that joy to the rest of you, or to those of you who are interested, obviously. Not everyone's into ASMR, which is totally fine. But yeah, like there is a YouTube channel though. This show, in fact, always uploads directly to YouTube because it goes to the YouTube podcast app. YouTube has podcasting now, and so it goes there. But there are some videos on there of me speaking to the camera, but I can do more. So yeah, I can make that happen, especially if I get a lot more, if there's a need, or not a need for it. You don't need it, but if there's more of a want for it. Okay, next question. Hi, Shelby. I think it's a fantastic achievement to keep this one-woman show running for 7 years. Thank you, even through COVID and all of the life changes you've been through. I really appreciate that. What part of it are you most proud of? Everything you said, basically. Keeping it going for 7 years, not giving up. You know, I'm most proud of those early days when I still had a different job and I would be up, like I mentioned that about those episodes I recorded at like 3 a.m. with a fever. Like when I was doing background acting, that was my job for a while. And like I had, 4 a.m. call times and I would be there. There was one day I was there for 21 hours. That was a day. It was a 21-hour day. It was on the set of Veep. It was the series finale of Veep. There were 19-hour days, 17-hour days. And I was so committed. And I knew this, I just had a feeling the show could be something. And so I would come home from those long days and I would make sure I got an episode out. And I would make sure something was available for you guys to listen to. And I'm really proud of myself for doing that. I don't have the best attention span. I don't know, maybe this gets like overused a lot, but like I was diagnosed as a kid. I have ADHD. I get very distracted. It takes a lot of self-discipline, like a lot of fighting my own natural urges to not do this, to get this show done. And I think that's what I'm really proud of. I had a lot of like, oh God, this like goes back to like childhood where like I was one of those like, you're squandering your potential. You're so smart. Why are your grades so bad type kids? Like I was my senior year of high school. I was both in AP English, which for my international listeners, that's like advanced English. And sometimes you get like college credits for that. I was also in remedial English at the same time. Yeah, at the same time my senior year, because my grades were so bad in my AP English class because I was so bad about doing homework. I just would not do it. I just wouldn't. That and my English teacher sucked. She was so mean to me. I don't care about saying that out loud. Everybody. She like would fail my essays because she like disagreed with me or whatever. Anyway, but yeah, so like that's just kind of gives you a look into my brain is like, I was just never good at like completing things. I got called lazy a lot when I was younger. And so now to have built all this and to work so hard and to make sure, things are happening and I'm working on so many different projects. And the fact that people request me for different like voice acting and writing and working on different things, it makes me feel so accomplished because, that quote unquote lazy kid who was squandering their potential, I don't know, she feels a little vindicated these days. So yeah, there's that. Okay, this next one is a voicemail from Frank.
Hi Shelby, my name is Frank from New York, and I wanted to take a moment to send you this voicemail just to express how much I love your podcast and all the work that you do. I find you to be incredibly inspiring, and your podcast actually got me back into horror. I was really big into it as a kid. It was one of the few things I connected to with my mom on as I got older. I fell off a bit, and then within the last 5 years or so, I've been getting back into it. And your podcast, your interviews have reminded me, one, just how much I love horror, and two, just how healing it can be. I know I'm not alone saying that your podcast, your stories, your art has helped me in my own personal dealing in healing. So I sincerely want to thank you for all that you do. I do have a quick question, if I may. I am a creator, primarily a musician, and I find that I get inspiration from many different areas of my life. Horror is one of those places that I want to tap into a little bit more. I'm unsure if I want to splash horror into some of the songs that I write, or if I want to write horror stories, although I can see myself doing both. From one creator to another, what can you recommend when it comes to creating horror content for someone who is new to operating in that space? Thanks again for all that you do. Take care.
Hello, I'm Malik.
I'm Jamie.
And this is World Gone Wrong, where we discuss the unprecedented times we're living through.
Can your manager still schedule you for night shifts after that werewolf bit you?
My ex-boyfriend was replaced by an alien body snatcher, but I think I like him better now.
Who is this dude showing up in everyone's old pictures?
We are just your normal millennial roommates processing our feelings about a chaotic world in front of some microphones.
Find World Gone Wrong in all the regular places you find podcasts.
Hi, Frank. First of all, thank you so much for your kind words, and I wish you all the luck with your music. And when it comes to someone who's new, operating in the horror space, wow, it's hard to say. It's like, I'm not a great teacher. I'm not gonna lie. So, because I've written horror since I was like a kid. Like, I've loved horror. I don't feel like it's ever been new to me, but I guess maybe going back to one of my earlier answers, writing from a very honest space within yourself, maybe writing some things that you don't even necessarily release because it's very personal. One thing that I will do sometimes is I just scare the shit out of myself. Like, I just sit and I think of something that would like really scare me. Like, what if there was a man standing outside my sliding glass door right now? What would I do? What would he look like? Would it be a monster? Like, and to the point where like I literally have to like, I'm scared, like I'm actually scaring myself. And so that helps a lot. So maybe that could help. Like, what scares you? But like, what actually scares you? Don't look at horror movies. Don't look at, I don't mean that. Like, what scares you, Frank? And it might be something that doesn't scare anyone else. And it might be something more existential. Sometimes mine is like, what happens when we die? What if there's nothing after that? And that freaks me the fuck out. And then I'm in a space of like, what do we do? I also take a lot of notes about dumb little bullshit constantly. People's names that I find cool, little phrases people say, little scenarios. I passed one time, I was driving in Mississippi, and there was like a sign. I've always wanted to use this and I've never done it. And it was like for a pancake house. And it said something about like, do we have the best pancakes? Like, sir, yup. Like syrup, but it was spelled like sir, comma, yup. Like he's answering like, yes, sir, we do. You get it. I've always wanted, like, I write down little silly things like that, or silly things that I think would be horrific. Like, I'll find little scenarios that pop up in my head, like, oh, what if this happens? Some of them are really dumb. I'll go through my notes and it'll be like, one of them is literally like, teenagers at a fair. I'm like, what did I mean by teenagers at a fair? They're going to the fair. Okay, well, what else? Idiot? Like, that's to me, not to you. Sometimes I talk to myself unkindly. I'm like, what did you mean by that? So sometimes there are little pieces like that. So yeah, I don't know. Right, just being observant. I'm a very observant person, and it's something that has been pointed out to me by a lot of people, and sometimes it's concerning to people. I've had people be like, how did you know that about me? And I'm like, because like I remember saying something about a coworker's eyes being green one time, like years ago. And he was like, how did you know that? And I'm like, because they are, like, they're on your face. And he's like, yeah, but like, why would you notice that? And I'm like, I just notice a lot of things about people. I just do. I'm very observant. And I think making it a point to just look at observe life, listen to conversations, eavesdrop. I'm giving you permission to eavesdrop on people watch, sit on a bench somewhere highly populated, like a mall or something, just fucking watch people, listen to people's conversations, think about what would happen if that mall all of a sudden, I don't know, the doors all locked and then the pipes burst and then there was flooding. What would you do? What would you do if the mall was filling up with water? What would you do, Frank? I don't even know if this is exactly what you were asking, but there's my answer. I hope this helps. Okay, next question. Hi, first off, I love the show so much. Thank you. You are so good at creating an ambiance with music and effects. Thank you. Okay, here's my question. Are there any stories that you've read for an episode that genuinely really scared you? Like, I'm sure you are somewhat used to scary stories by now, but are there any that, like, really stuck with you? Okay, thanks. Yes, there's one in particular that comes to mind. I can't remember the name of it. To be completely honest with you, and this happens to a lot of my fellow creators too. I know that happens to them as well. Sometimes these episodes get like kind of memory hold for me. You know, think about your day-to-day job. You don't remember every aspect of every day, or maybe you do. Maybe you have a photographic memory and you do, and you're like, not me. I remember everything. Good for you, but I don't. And so one I will remember, I do remember, I cannot remember the name of it. And it had to do with like, there was like a lighthouse. And again, they went to like it was like kind of like the Philadelphia experiment where people were like in the walls of things. Maybe there wasn't a lighthouse, but there was one particular scene where this guy, he goes to this goo and he's like, he starts like moaning in pleasure. And then those pleasure moans turn to pain. And I had a good time finding those pleasure moans on freesound.org, by the way, the one that I use for a lot of my sound effects. There's a lot of porn sounds on there if you ever need one. They're like under you have to say like show more, like you have to like unlock them or whatever. Not unlock them, but like they're usually censored, but they're there. But anyway, so it was that one, and like the protagonist ends up just like stuck in this like horror world, like halfway between a machine, like I think it's like half stuck in like some metal or in a room. I don't remember exactly, but anything like that. Again, and we talked about this a lot on the Bloody Disgusting podcast. Anything that's like you can't get out, like your soul is stuck, like not like slashers don't care, like slash away, you know, death is inevitable. But something where your soul is trapped somewhere, anything like that. Because there's a few that I can think of, but again, it's so hard to think of the details and think of them like on the spot a little bit like this. But yeah, like that one. If anyone remembers what that one is. All right, next. It looks like we're halfway officially at question 30. So we are halfway through our questions. Perfect. We're an hour in. So this may be 2 hours long or longer. Oh, I told, someone on Facebook very kindly said that he missed the, that I didn't ramble much last week. And he said he missed it. And I was like, don't worry, this Q&A episode's coming out and it's going to be like a lethal amount of rambling. Not that I'm rambling, I'm answering questions, but still, it's a whole lot of me talking, isn't it? Would you be willing to create an erotica podcast with your voice? Would absolutely love it. I mean, again, not opposed to it. I don't know how much of a want there is for it. I don't think there's a lot of erotica in the public domain either. I don't think. I haven't delved into the world of erotica much. I mean, I've read a little bit of it, but I don't know how much of it would be public domain. I don't know how much of it I could read. Not like opposed to it. I have no problem with it. I think the 13 podcast, Brooke over the 13 podcast, I swear she does something like that. And I think she does some on their Patreon if you're looking for something like that. And she has an incredible voice. But yeah, not opposed to it. Just something that I wouldn't even know where to begin, So, question mark, answering your question with a, shrugging my shoulders. I don't know. Sorry, that's not very satisfactory, but, next question. Out of every story you've read on the show, which one would you not want to find yourself in and why? I guess I've kind of answered this question a little bit. This is one I probably should have whittled down to one version. I'm so sorry, because I've already kind of answered this. Anything where your soul is trapped, anything where you can't get out, where the ending is like, not that you die, but that you're like stuck. Your soul is stuck somewhere and you're forever there. Anything like that. Yeah. Next. Hi, good afternoon. I just wanted to tell you how much my 10-year-old Scarlett loves your podcast. Hello, Scarlett. I started listening to it about 1.5 years ago, but a few months ago, I happened to play it with my daughter in the car, and now is a must on every single car ride, and even when we are just at home relaxing. She was so excited to see that one of the episodes came on her birthday. Oh, well, happy birthday whenever that was. So I just really wanted to say thank you. P.S. Where can I get the recipe for the sugar cookies you mentioned in one of your episodes? Well, my friend, I don't know your name, but Scarlett's mom, you feel free to email me and I will send you that cookie recipe. I've had several people ask for it. You can just email scareyoutosleep@gmail.com and I am happy to send it to you. I actually just made some this week. It's so funny that came up. I just made some this week. It's a great recipe to freeze half the dough, which is perfect for me. Because as we spoke about at length earlier, I am single, so I love baked goods these days that you can freeze. You can make it ahead and freeze it. You can kind of make it like I made it into like a log. And you know those? Okay, do you guys remember? Well, I guess some of them still come in a tube. But do you remember how those cookies that have all the fun like printed like people on, like they come out at like Christmas and Halloween and stuff, and they're like sugar cookies, but they have like a design on it, like it'll have like a reindeer or like a ghost or whatever, like a pumpkin. Those, they used to come where you had to slice them yourself. I remember that, and they don't come like that anymore. But anyway, these sugar cookies you can make into a log and like slice like those used to be. So yeah, and thank you. And also again, hello, Scarlett. Thank you for listening, and I hope this show has not traumatized you. Hello, Shelby. Greetings from Eastern Europe. Wow, hello. I've been listening to your podcast since early 2020, and you've become part of my weekly routine every Friday. My question for you is, throughout all the stories you've read on your Dark Reddit series, what's the story that has stuck with you the most? Hands down, the Jason and Hell story. And I told that story in like the first or second Dark Reddit. And if you don't know what the Jason and Hell story is, I don't really want to rehash it here. It's very trigger warning heavy. It's very depressing. It's very sad. And it's just like a nightmare. It's an actual nightmare. And it's all true. That's another thing that's very terrifying about it, is it's all confirmed true. So if you want, you can look for that Dark Reddit that I did, or you can look up, if you Google Jason and Hell Reddit, there's a lot about it. And I think there's even, someone told me that Jason and Hell himself was on a true crime show recently, or maybe at some point, and I haven't watched it though. They sent it to me, but I just haven't watched it. And so, yeah, that one. And also thank you for listening. Next, what's one type of story, like time loops, for example, you would like to cover in future episodes the most? Why haven't you? I mean, I can't think of anything that I like haven't covered. You know, did I do this? Maybe I already covered this. I'm really fascinated by people like the idea of immortals. I don't think I believe it, but there's like a lot of different stories of people who have lived incredibly long or been like immortal, like the famous story of the Count de Saint-Germain and that whole thing, and there's a few others, and so something like that would be really interesting for me to cover, if you mean like covering them in their traditional sense like I did with time loops. But if you mean for like in a fictional way, then I don't know, a lot of them. I did a time loop or a time slip type story on I told you about the creepy stories. I did one over there that I really enjoyed. It's one that like I was kind of, I don't know, I really liked that story, and it has to do with a sensory deprivation chamber. I think it's called sensory deprivation. Sorry, I don't see. It's not just that I memory hole other stories. I memory hole my own too. Sometimes I forget stories that I've written. That's why I go back and read them. Next, is there a country's folklore from Europe to Asia that you find especially fascinating for its creepiness? God, I don't know if it's disrespectful to call it creepy, but there's one thing, I really find, and I don't know a lot about, like, ancient, like, Arabian folklore, like the jinn, and the Epic of Gilgamesh. You know, the Epic of Gilgamesh is kind of like the Odyssey, where it was a work of fiction, but there are a lot of stories from the Epic of Gilgamesh that are found in the Bible. Like, the Bible's like, this was our story, but then if you look historically, it's like the same, like the Great Flood. It's in the Epic of Gilgamesh. Like, it's really, stuff like that to me is really fascinating. I feel like kind of Middle Eastern folklore is a blind spot for me. It's just something I don't know a lot about, and I find it really fascinating. Again, I don't know if it's disrespectful to say it's creepy, but it is very fascinating, and I would love to know more about it. Is there a book or audiobook you have recently read that you would recommend? Let's see. I haven't been doing enough reading lately. I'm currently rereading Jane Eyre, which is fantastic if you've never read it. But if you're looking, I assume you're maybe asking about horror novels. If you're looking for horror, I really recommend, I've recommended it on the show, I think, before, but like Head Full of Ghosts is a great novel. I think they're making it into a show soon. Fantastic Land is a great horror novel. And I've heard the audiobook. I don't do audiobooks very often because I'm not an auditory learner, so I don't absorb them well enough. I like to, so again, not that I'm just trying to put that out there because just different types of brains. Mine just doesn't absorb information well enough auditorially. Is that a word? Probably not. But anyway, I've heard the Fantastic Land audiobook is very good because it's told in like kind of each chapter is an interview with a different person who was there, and the audiobook is with a different voice actor for each chapter. And I've heard it's a really great audiobook if you're into audiobooks. So I'd recommend checking that. In fact, I've heard people tell me that if I liked the book, I should also even check out the audiobook, even though I've already read the book, because it's really well done. Hey Shelby, what is your favorite type/subgenre of horror fiction to receive? I don't really have a favorite, but you know, I always love a found footage type thing. You know, those are fun. Those are always kind of fun to read. Give a little air of mystery where it feels like something that really happened, but you know, I would get bored if I had like a favorite that I read over and over again. I think that's why my own writing kind of runs the gambit of different subgenres of horror, because I don't know, I don't, you know, I have some that I prefer like less. I don't know, like I don't seek out like monsters as much, but I've done monsters recently on the show, and it's a lot of fun because I don't do them as often. You know what I don't get a lot of at all, in fact, I can't even really think of any right now, is aliens. Like, alien horror is so much fun, and I don't get a lot of alien stuff. I don't get a lot of cryptids. There's stuff that like I just don't get a lot of, so I would be fascinated to get some of that's well written. Oh, this is a good Southern California question. Hey Shelby, do you like In-N-Out? If so, what's your favorite food to order? And I know In-N-Out has spread amongst different states now, but growing up it was only in California. So I'm going to have to hand in my Californian badge. I am not the biggest fan of In-N-Out, but I will eat it. I think they have the worst fries out of anyone. I just don't like their fries, and I know they're like freshly made. You literally see them like cut up the potatoes in the window. I know that they get paid really well. I think it's a great company. Just not my favorite burgers. But if I do go to In-N-Out, which I do every once in a while because most people love it, especially when I have friends who are visiting from out of state, they want to go to In-N-Out, I get a double with grilled onions and a chocolate shake, and all the veggies on it, on the double and a chocolate shake. I love their shakes. I do love their chocolate shakes. So that's my In-N-Out order. Hey Shelby, if heaven forbid, you could only have one type of baked dessert food for the rest of your life, what would it be? I mean, you could eat it as much as you want, you just can't vary it. That's a hard question. If I have to pick one, I think maybe I'd have to pick like basic chocolate chip cookies. like with not too many chocolate chips. I don't actually like them too chocolatey, but like basic chocolate chip cookies. I think that I would have to pick that. But like, this is such a mean question. I don't, what a horrifying thought. But I'm going to go with chocolate chip cookies just because I feel like they're the most like, I don't know, like not basic, but like, I don't know. I'm just going to pick that. I don't even know why. I can't justify it, but that's my answer. Thank you. Next is, was there any movie, book, show, etc. that spurred your interest in horror? For me, it was walking up and down the horror aisle at Blockbuster as a kid, seeing all the incredible cover art. Honestly, I've been interested in horror since before I could remember. My family, especially my mom's side of the family, is very into the paranormal as like just as a belief, and so it kind of started there. Like, yes, ghosts are real. Like my aunt growing up had a house that's actually still in the family. Her kids live there now, but that was haunted, and it was just like a known fact. Like it wasn't like it wasn't even a joke. It was just like, for me anyway, as a child, I was just taught from birth, like, yes, Aunt I's house is haunted, and that is a fact. It's not up for debate. It is just it is what it is. And my mom showed me horror movies as a kid, and both my parents really encouraged a lot of reading, and they saw that I was really interested in paranormal stuff, so they got me like, I remember the set, it was like burgundy, and it was probably like ordered off of some sort of like magazine or TV ad, like happened in the 90s. It was this burgundy set of books, and one of them was a lot of Edgar Allan Poe's stories. And like, I remember my mom being like, oh, I used to love The Pit and the Pendulum. You should read that. And I don't even know how old I was. And my brother was also into paranormal stuff and like ghosts and things. So like from a very young age, we'd watch like compilations of like ghost shows. Like they would come out with DVDs of like ghost shows and all that stuff. And like, yeah, I can't even remember a time before horror, a time before things like that. But I did also enjoy going up and down the aisles at video stores like Video 2000, Hollywood Video, Blockbuster, and looking at all the horror covers. And it's like, sometimes we'll talk about things on the Bloody Disgusting podcast, and I immediately remember the cover sitting on the shelf at Hollywood Video. So I wouldn't say that was like my first, it didn't spur my interest, but it definitely contributed. And it's time for a voicemail. Take it away, caller.
Hi, Shelby. Long-time listener, first-time caller. My name is Nika. Thanks for inviting us all to leave you some voicemails this week. I just wanted to say thank you so much for everything that you do, and sharing really beautiful, meaningful, scary, terrible stories. Terrible in the way as in we hear some horrifying things, and I love it. And I wanted to call specifically to shout out that you did that crossover with Creepy Podcast, and you prompted us all to go over and take a listen. And I really wanted to tell you how much I love the sensory deprivation story. I know it features your love of time slips, especially, and that was new for me. So, yeah, all that to say, love everything you do. Long-time listener since, I think, 2019. Any which way, I'll keep listening to you. Thank you so much. Okay, bye.
Thank you so much. And yeah, I have 5 extra stories. If you like my own stories, if you're new to the show and you like my writing personally, you can go check out the Creepy Podcast. And I did 5 whole episodes over there a couple of years ago. I think it was 2023, August of 2023. Yeah, it was August of 2023. And there are 5 very different stories. There's like a haunted house one, there's a time slip one, there's a witchy one, there's a found footage one. Again, that's the cruise ship one. And there's another found footage one about a haunted grocery store. And I swear there's one more that I'm forgetting, or maybe not. But there's a good myriad of them over there. So thank you for, and I'm glad you enjoyed those. Next is, I love hearing about your baking. What's your favorite recipe? It changes, but as of this moment, I've spoken about it on the show, but I'm really enjoying making Parker House rolls. And I just love making dinner rolls. They're so impressive when you bring them to a friend's house because people are like, you made those? And I make them alongside, I bring both a really good salted butter. There's like I can't remember the name of it. It's like in white paper with like blue and red writing. And I think it's from Belgium. And it's at least at the grocery stores here. And it's got like really big chunks of sea salt in it. So I'll bring that plus a side of a dupe for the Texas Roadhouse butter. Oh, international listeners, it's the most American thing you've ever seen. It's basically buttercream with cinnamon in it. And that on a fresh Parker House roll, I mean, it can't be beat. People overlook the simplistic, beautiful, simple, gorgeous dinner roll. Don't we all love dinner rolls? Oh man, a hot dinner roll fresh out of the oven with some butter or some Texas Roadhouse butter can't be beat. Or even just butter with a little drizzle of honey. Oh, good Lord. Yes. So that's my favorite thing right now. Okay, out of all your stories, which has been your favorite to narrate, least favorite, and why? Favorite, I think I mentioned earlier, stuff like Frosting was so much fun to narrate. Sam was on one. She was crashing out. She was having the worst day, and I just loved something about that. I loved it, and I loved doing Pam's accent. I had never done a Midwestern accent before. I just went for it, and I guess I did it okay, you know? And so that was just so much fun to do that Midwestern Pam accent, plus Sam just fucking crashing out. So that was one of my favorites. Least favorite, probably anything that has an accent. I do a lot of like British type things. There's a story, I just did one that was kind of Scottish. There was one that was like Irish that I did recently. And I'm just not very good at accents. So it stresses me out. I don't even dislike doing them, but it stresses me out because I know that like as kind as my international listeners are, they know I'm doing a bad job. They know that's not what they sound like. And I always hope that I don't make a mockery of their accents. They did one years ago called The Island of Regrets, and I did a French accent, and I have gotten so many compliments on that from not French people. Definitely. But I don't know how good it was. I've never listened to it since because I'm kind of horrified to even hear how bad that accent was. But yeah, anything with accents, just because I'm like the whole time I'm sitting there sweating and I'm redoing stuff and I'm like trying to figure out how they would say this or that and trying to do something, a good version of it, but not cartoonish and not terrible and not Keanu Reeves from Bram Stoker's Dracula. So thank you, by the way, to my international listeners who have been so kind. I've not received any hate mail about my accent work. I mean, that could change someday, but I haven't so far, and I appreciate you for that. If you had to select a horror icon, lore, fictional, etc., to be your date at a special event, who would you pick and why? Definitely like some sort of sexy vampire, right? Wouldn't that be the best date? Like, here's my sexy vampire friend. He's very charismatic and beautiful, and yeah, like Lestat. Like, I guess Lestat from Anne Rice, from the Vampire Chronicles. I have not watched the show, by the way. A lot of people have asked me if I watched the show because I'm such a fan of the books, but I have not. I just haven't. No reason, just haven't. But yeah, I guess I'll go with that. Or like even Dracula, the OG, Camilla, maybe. I don't know. Just some sexy vampire I think would be a great date to a special event. Because yeah, again, charming, charismatic, beautiful to look at. Arm candy, essentially. Okay, what has been the most intense recurring dream you have had in your life? I get a lot of nightmares. God, I had one last night. I had a nightmare last night, and I was in my room, and in the dream, I woke up, and I thought I was really awake, and this presence was like pushing down on me in bed. It wasn't quite sleep paralysis. I was asleep, and it rolled over me, and it was like there just was a presence, a ghost in my room, and I woke up and I ended up sleeping on the couch because then I was scared of my room. And 2 nights in a row I've had scary dreams in my bedroom, and I've had to sleep on the couch because I'm alone. So I just sleep on the couch, and it feels a little safer in the living room. I don't know why. I don't have a TV in my bedroom either, so I can turn on the TV in the living room, and it feels, something about the TV makes you feel safer. I don't know what it is. But recurring dream, my biggest recurring stress dream would be being in school and not being able to find my classes. All of a sudden I'm in like middle school or high school, and I don't know where any of my classes are. And I like walk into the wrong classroom, or I'm naked, or I have a towel on my head, or I can't find my shoes, but I'm always like at school and I can't find I don't know where, and that's the big thing. I don't know where any of my classes are, and I'm going to be late to all of them. And again, there's usually an added fun thing of me being naked or no shoes or something. So that's my biggest recurring one. Man, we are at question 45. I had no idea anyone would ever want to know this much about me. My romantic partners don't want to know this much about me. And I know they're all coming from different sources, but my brain is just compacting them into like, people want to know all these things about you. And it's so fascinating. It's strange. Shelby. Oh, this one's... Okay, Shelby, you are amazing. I love your voice. You're so beautiful and fun. I mean, maybe I sound fun. I don't know if you've met me. Maybe you have met me. I don't know who this is actually from. These are actually anonymous, by the way. Sometimes I wonder if some of them are from people I know. Just, out of curiosity, you just wonder. I love your movie taste and your passion and drive. Your sultry voice gives me goosebumps, and I would pay so much money to hear you read some smutty stories. Well, you and the other guy from earlier. I have never met and likely never will. I've never met and likely never will, but I am totally in love with you. Heart emoji. So I guess we have not met. It isn't someone I know. But, I have this story called Limerence. Yeah, I mean, thank you. I appreciate it. That's very nice of you. But, you don't know me. What if I suck? What if you met me and I was like, just not, you're in love with the idea of me, and that's fine. I have crushes on so many people who I'll probably never meet, and I have such an idealistic version of who they are and how they would feel about me, and, I'm not immune to the errant fantasy and daydreaming. I am not at all. I am still like a young girl in that way. I definitely daydream about people, but, some that I have met actually, but I meet a lot of people. I have the opportunity to meet a lot of, fancy people. But anyway, thank you. I don't know what to say other than like, thank you. And, I'm glad someone, sometimes I feel like a silly little schoolgirl when I have my little daydreams, and it's good to know people are out there doing the same about me. That's actually really comforting. Actually, you just made me feel really good. Thank you for that. I'm not trying to, is that I don't know, is that weirdly encouraging in a bad way? I'm not sure if that was problematic. I don't know. I'm only human. Let's go to the next one. I'm talking myself into a hole here. Oh, this is an MP3 that was sent in through email, so technically a voicemail. Take it away.
Good evening, Shelby. This is Ben here from the UK, but currently living and working in West Africa in Cameroon. I wanted to share a short story from when I was a child, and then also get a question for your question and answer session. So when I was younger, I was in the Boy Scouts, and we camped a lot, and I was around 12 years old, and there was a very large forest where we used to camp a lot as kids. And the forest where we were was next to a big hill without any trees at all, so a completely plain-sided hill, and there was a big building on the top of this hill, and there was a very small fence at the bottom of the hill that separated the field from the forest. So we were camping just inside of the forest, and we were settling down from the night, and it was just after dark, and we had our fire lit, and we were telling ghost stories around the campsite, and our tents were scattered around the perimeter of the fire pit area. And we were telling ghost stories about monsters and people creeping around in the dark. And Then at one point someone made up a ghost story or a horror story about the large building on the hill. It was one of the older kids, probably about 14, 15, and he was saying that basically that hill was a insane asylum, and they kept people there who were hyper dangerous, and if you weren't careful at night you could hear them howling, and you didn't want to go onto that part of the land because it could be very dangerous. And we all kind of laughed it off and didn't take it very seriously, as you do as a child, and not to scare ourselves. Then at night, once we'd all gone to bed, we were all sleeping, we had a little rustling around the tents, and kind of one of the younger kids started to say maybe that was a escaped person from an institute. We again laughed it off, but then we saw a light cross the field in the middle of the night. We all remained silent, and after about 10 minutes it passed away and we heard no more sounds. We then went back to sleep and didn't hear anything about it, and completely forgot about that for 20 years. And then I was talking about that story with a family friend recently, and they said, oh yes, but that is a insane asylum. And so I looked it up on Google Maps, and it was indeed an insane asylum. So it could well have been somebody who had escaped, who was walking around our campfire that night. I wanted to share that and ask you, have you ever had an experience that at the time you dismissed or thought was untrue, only to find out many years later that it was very true and were potentially very terrified because of it? Thank you again, and keep up the good work. Ben.
Man, I don't know if I've had something like that's very specific. Like you find out years later that it was true. Other than like my house that I grew up in, that my parents don't live in anymore, I always felt like it was haunted. And like years later, I just kind of wrote it off as like, oh, well, I was a kid. I was just scared of the dark. And like, you know, maybe I was just kind of, I was a kid who read horror stories constantly. So, you know, I just spooked myself. But then years later, I heard from different family members and friends who were like, oh no, there was something in your room. Like one family member was like, yeah, one time I walked by your room and I heard a little girl crying and I thought it was you, and I ran in and there was no one there. You were in the living room. And like my brother saw stuff in the house that he didn't tell me about because he didn't want to scare me. And like, yeah, there's just like, I guess that's the closest I've come, is like kind of writing it off as like, oh, just, you know, being a kid and being just scared by things, but then finding out later like, oh, other people experienced weird stuff in that house too. So I guess that's the closest, but your story was very fascinating. Thank you, Ben. This next one was, it's a question for advice, which is interesting. This is the only one I got that was like this. I'm not opposed to it. It's the only one like this. How do you get over a family member being horrible to you / mistreating you after you've been nothing but kind and supportive to them? You know, this is something I would honestly need a lot more context for. A lot more context. You can only be in charge of yourself. People can hurt you and it's hurtful, but the only thing, people can hurt you and it's hurtful. That was excellent. Oh, how eloquent. Sign me up for a self-help book to write, right? Anyway, you know, again, I would need a lot more context, but if this is someone you have to be in contact with constantly, I don't know. It's sometimes, you know, going a little lower contact is fine. You don't have to go no contact, but, you know, maybe lowering your contact with this person, and you can only be in charge of your own self. Like, you can grow as a person from this. You can't make them treat you better. You can't make them not be horrible to you. You can keep being kind and supportive, but you can be, you know, a little less presently. You know, you can maybe be kind and supportive if you ever have to interact with them. But other than that, you can't control other people. You can only control yourself, so you can stop interacting with them as much. Or, you know, I don't know, maybe this is from someone who's a teenager and they're talking about like their mom or something. And if that's the case, then when you get older and you become self-sufficient, same thing, low contact. But I don't know, I don't feel comfortable answering this in any sort of really earnest way just because I don't have any context, other than I've learned in this year of celibacy and solitude that you can really grow as a person when you have to put work into it. You have to put work into realizing your own shortcomings, your own faults, and if you truly have done nothing wrong to this person, then that is on them, and they don't deserve your company as a friend or family member. So that's all I can say. Next question. Could I buy you a gift? A few months ago, if I remember correctly, you mentioned not having a printer on an episode. Can I buy you one or send you money in general? I do subscribe to Patreon. First of all, thank you so much. I still have not gotten myself a printer. I mean, look, I don't want to ask for gifts. You don't have to give me gifts, but I also won't say no to one. If you want to buy me a printer, sure. There's a P.O. box. I won't say no. But also, please do not feel obligated to buy me things. Please, 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 please do not. But I really do appreciate when people send me things in the mail. And thank you for being a subscriber to Patreon. I really appreciate that. Thank you. Let's see, next. Have you ever considered releasing versions without sound effects and music? Regardless, love the show. I did that once, years ago. There's an episode called Quiet, I think it's called Quiet, and it's from it's a few years ago now, and it has no music, no sound effects, and people were not a fan of it. I understand you wanting some without, though, because there are some ASMR I listened to that I like. I was listening to one earlier, actually, by Osley ASMR, and she uses like no sound effects and things in this one. It's called like One Take, and it's only like whatever sounds are in her environment as she's like talking and, things like that. And so I understand the want for it, but you're the only person who's asked for a long time. So again, like a lot of these other things, I just don't know if there's enough of a need or want for it. So maybe if a lot of people, if after this episode, maybe people are like, yes, we would love that, then perhaps. Next. Hi, Shelby, longtime fan of the show here. And I want to ask you something I think about a lot. What do you think sparks all of our curiosity in the spooky stories? Personally, I am a daycare teacher, and my whole life is rainbows and colors. But I feel most calm when listening to your stories. I wonder what we all have as a connection there. Whatever it is, I'm grateful all of our common interests have created such a cool show. Thank you for everything you do as a one-woman show. Heart emoji. Thank you, first of all. And I think, I think that we're all just, again, death is inevitable. We all experience death in our lives and sadness and darkness. And, I think a lot of us just love the unknown, and horror is such an escape because it's monsters that we can control. It's monsters that stay on the page or stay in our phones and stay there, as opposed to the monsters we deal with every day. And there's something so fantastical about horror. That's what I love about it, is every horror story is a little bit like a fairy tale, especially original fairy tales that are so horrific. I think a lot of us are just looking for something. It's like if you're not really into fantasy because it's a little too out of the realm of possibility for you, or even sci-fi, horror kind of encompasses so many different genres. There can be romance, there can be things rooted in reality, there can be things that are very not rooted in reality. There are some that are, so supernatural or religious, that deal with, religious trauma or family trauma or grief, or even the other way where it's just a scary monster, just like in a fairy tale, just a scary monster that doesn't exist, that we just kind of wanted to go into a place for a little bit to hear about the scary monster. And there's a lot that, like slashers, they appeal to our true crime brains, people who are more true crime brained, and things like that. So I think that horror just holds something for everyone, and it gives you a little bit of a sense of control over the unknown, because the story ends eventually. And yeah. Oh, next question. I should have deleted. Do you know how sexy you are? That's embarrassing to say out loud. I don't know how to answer that. Next question. I've been listing through my school year. Oh, I think listening through my school year. And I just wanted to ask, what are your favorite and least favorite episodes to film and why? Great narrations, by the way. I kind of answered that already. Favorites are just stuff that's a little easier to narrate. Least favorite, it's hard to say exactly what my least favorites are, but I will run until I'm in the midst of narrating them. There are some that my friends know, because sometimes I'll be like, I'm having so many issues, or like, I'm having such a hard time narrating this one, just because it's like the cadence and the flow are different than my way of speaking normally, that they're hard to grasp, and I have to do a lot of different takes and retakes for them. So yeah, it's hard to say exactly what would be my least favorite until I'm within it. Next, LA girl, do you want to build a snowman in Vermont? We have the Manchester Vampire. I would love to build a snowman in Vermont. I haven't really spent much time in snow since, like, when I was a kid. We visited snow a couple times in the mountains, but I haven't built, I don't know if I'm sure I've built a snowman when I was a kid, but I would love to. And the Manchester Vampire, I'm all about vampires, so whatever that is, I haven't looked up what it is exactly, but sure, yes, I will come to Vermont and build a snowman and, I don't know, meet the Manchester Vampire. I don't know what part he would play in anything, but sure. When recording character voices, do you typically do each character through the script and then arrange, or do you go through the script switching voices between characters? I'm glad someone asked me this. No one's ever asked me this, and I don't know why. I wanted to tell people. Different people do it different ways, so this is not the correct way to do it. It might be the wrong way to do it. I just keep going through and I switch my voice as I get to different characters. I don't go out of my way to do each character and then arrange, simply because that's a lot more work. But I think that's the correct way to do it. But I just go and I switch my voice as I go. So that's how I do it. Thank you for asking. I don't know why I've always wanted to tell people that, but I've had no reason to. This next one was a text message to the voicemail line. Hi Shelby, my name is Trevor, and I have been listening since about the 3rd or 4th episode. Wow! Thanks, Trevor. Thanks so much for all the work and love you put into the podcast. It inspired me to do my own for a while before life got in the way. My question is, what conspiracy do you buy into? Ooh, that's a good one. Okay, so this is a more contemporary one, and it's dead internet theory. And that's the idea that there are so many bots that have been automated on the internet and like forums and social media and everything, that it eventually gets to a point where everyone's only talking to bots. And, you know, recently they had this whole announcement that I think it was Instagram and Facebook maybe were rolling out, where they're going to use like fake AI people. I mean, fake AI, that's redundant, but you know, AI people on both social media sites to like interact with. And so, yeah, I think sometimes, and Twitter's a good example of that. A lot of the like blue checks, as they're called, a lot of people you see in comments under like viral posts that have the blue check next to them, a lot of them are bots, and you can tell because they basically copied replies from other people that were getting a lot of traction, but they don't have blue check marks. Blue check marks now on Twitter go to the top. And yeah, I think there's a good chance online sometimes you are speaking to a robot. This is maybe not a conspiracy, but I see people feed into it a lot. A lot of times when people say something really controversial, and again, Twitter is one example, and they have like a blue check mark, and it'll be something like women shouldn't be able to learn how to read. And then all these people are like yelling at them. Those people are doing it because the more interactions they get, the more they get paid, because you get paid through, you know, how many interactions you have. And if you go yell at them, you're just feeding and you're just giving them exactly what you want. So don't do that. And a lot of times they're automated bots. So don't do that either. Yeah, that's one I believe in, is dead internet theory. Is there are so many AI bots online that you never really know if you're talking to a real human being. Not never, but a lot of times. Okay, next is, how do you manage it all? Editing, narrating, the whole podcast production. That's a phenomenal feat. I appreciate that. That's really kind of you to say. Sometimes I don't feel like I'm managing anything at all. But it's, I think I said earlier, it's a lot of self-discipline. And if you think you can't do that, it's not true. Like, there are days I have to really fight my brain and fight my body. And, sometimes the show comes out late. But it depends on, like, what you want as your end game. I started this show in a place of desperation where I had to get out. Like, I wanted out of my situation. I didn't want to be where I was. I knew I needed to do something more and something creative, and I wanted to work as hard as I could at it. And of course, it's not all like just work hard and you'll go places. Sometimes it's luck too. I've gotten a lot of very fortunate things that have happened to me that truly feel like just a little kiss from the universe out of nowhere, And yeah, I wish I could tell you I had a really good schedule and what to do and what time I wake up in the morning. I'm a very scattered person. I wish I was more organized. I'm becoming more organized. Actually, this voicemail episode is the most organized it's ever been. I put it all into a spreadsheet, into a Google sheet, and I made sure to scatter all of the voicemails around so they would be, put out evenly. And I put all the questions in here, whittled them down. Like I said, some of them escaped me, but they're all in a nice little spreadsheet. Like, this is the same anonymous form I used as last time, but I had to just delete it all the questions, even the ones I didn't get to, because when you have these forms on Google, if you don't send them to a spreadsheet, you can't really delete them one by one, and they get really muddled and everything. So this is the first time I've been very organized with this. In fact, after this, I'm gonna wipe the spreadsheet or wipe the doc. I'll keep it in the show notes. You can still send questions for next time, but that way I don't repeat any questions from this time. And but yeah, I wish I could say I was more organized. I set a lot of alarms for myself. I set a lot of reminders. I use my calendar app like crazy. I don't know how good I would be at this if this was before a lot of technologies. I set alarms for myself all day to remind myself of things I need to do throughout the day, or even things I need to get done. I have one right now that just says RSLE bitch, or RSLE bitch, and it means you need to start working on the third RSLE entry, and eventually that alarm will find me at the right time and I will actually do it. And it's happened before. And my calendar, I will put really mundane things that seem like they shouldn't need to be in a calendar for some people, but they do for me. And I utilize my calendar. Sometimes I do this thing where I put something in a calendar and I set it for 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. That way all day I'm seeing it as a reminder. And yeah, I don't know. I wish I haven't found a perfect system yet. I'm very scattered. I am getting better at it. It's mostly just determination and perseverance and realizing now I'm fully on my own and I'm the only one here to save me. So that's pretty good motivation too. Let's see the next by the way, thank you so much. I really appreciate your that compliment at the end there. Next question. Hi, Shelby. Thank you for all you do and making this wonderful podcast. My dad passed away recently. I'm so sorry. And I've been listening to this podcast for years, and I've leaned into listening even more recently because I find it comforting. I've started now saying, bye, Shelby, when you sign off, like we're two buds having a spooky chat. We are. That's really sweet. I like that. Anyways, this is typically my go-to question when I get to know people. What would be your last meal? Miranda. Well, Miranda, I actually read this one a few days ago when you sent it in, and or I guess just a couple days ago. He sent it in on the 20th, and I have been contemplating it, and I have my answer. So it would be machaca and beans on a plate with fresh tortillas, preferably the tortillas that my grandma makes, and a special quesadilla, which I've never really found anywhere but my hometown. It's like a special thing in my hometown. You can get it at any restaurant, Mexican restaurant. It's mostly Mexican restaurants down there. Again, I've told you it's on the border, but it's basically you take like tortilla dough, and instead of making a tortilla, you like put cheese in there, and you crimp it kind of like an empanada, but it's like big. It's kind of big. It's bigger than an empanada, and then you fry it, and so it's fried dough with cheese, but it's tortilla dough, and it's just the best thing ever. It's so good. And I can't really find that. I've never found one in LA. There is a Calexico version, like it's supposed to be like a Calexico Mexicali type restaurant here somewhere, and I've never gone to it, and I'm wondering if they might have it. But so yeah, big pile of machaca, beans, like refried beans, and fresh tortillas, special quesadilla, a Diet Coke, a coffee, let's see what else. Oh, for dessert, a creme brulee. A creme brulee for dessert. And I think that was it. I like compiled it in my brain. And that would be my last meal. I think that would be a fantastic last meal. So yeah, that's my last meal. And next, we're almost done. Wow. Okay, what's your favorite horror movie killer and cookie? Well, my favorite horror movie killer, this might be a little random. This movie hasn't like really stood the test of time. Well, there's two of them, but Sinister, Mr. Oogie, I think his name is. He's so scary to me. He makes children kill their families and then themselves. And yeah, Mr. Oogie from Sinister. And my favorite cookie, I guess a chocolate chip cookie from earlier, But I also love like a peanut butter cookie. I love a chocolate chip cookie with like espresso in it. Love that. I love a peanut butter cookie with the type with the Hershey's Kiss in the middle, That's always like so good. But yeah, I guess, what? I do make chocolate chip cookies more than any other cookie. It's just like my mom's like kind of locally famous for her really good chocolate chip cookies. So it's like something that, I don't know, I really loved growing up. So that. This is a text. Oh, okay. These last two are pretty silly. This is a text and it says, I have a crush on you. Do you like me back? Check yes or no. And I don't know who you are. I will admit, I looked up your phone number to see if it was someone I might know, and it's not. So I don't know who you are, so I can't answer that. So I check, I don't know. Maybe I would if I knew you. And this last one is a voicemail, and it is...
Hey, Shelby. First time, long time on the voicemail recording. I got a very important question. I'm not sure you can answer it, but I figured I'd just lay it out here on the line for you guys to do on your next live voicemail reading. But how much wood could a woodchuck chuck if that woodchuck could chuck wood? Looking forward to your answer. Bye.
I tried to look up this question to see if there was like an answer, like some pedantic person online like figured out some sort of answer for it, and there's not. So I don't know how much wood a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood. But I said it for you, so I think that's good enough. And now, thank you so much for all your questions. Now we will go into the portion of the show where I play different voicemails and I kind of comment on them, but I'm not going to do a lot of commentating. My voice is kind of going. This is almost 2 hours long, so that's pretty crazy. And I appreciate you all so much. I appreciate the voicemails. If you don't listen through the voicemails, I just wanted to say thank you so much for 7 years. For 7 years of just making my dreams come true. Thank you so much. Again, like I kind of talked about it earlier, but you guys are the reason I was able to get out of that awful marriage. Like you, as like Patreon subscribers, and I mean just everybody who listens to the show and listens to the ads. I have some host read ads coming up for the first time in a long time with my offer codes and stuff. And for years, like those of you who use my offer codes, and I never want you to get something you don't need, by the way. But if there's ever something that you do want or you've been eyeing, and then I happen to have an offer code, those of you over the years who have used those, like, thank you so much. It's you have no idea. Like, I literally, he made me broke a couple of years. Like, he spent all, like, it was gone. And like, it was really scary. And it was all because of you all listening and being here that I am able to, like, be alive right now. I'm not even kidding, like, literally. And I hope you all know that as many times as you've all told me that I've helped you, just, given you comfort and happiness and escape. You've done the same for me, like, in 20-fold, like, you're so important to me, and you're the reason for my whole life. And if you ever think that you're not making a difference and you think like your life feels a little meaningless, because sometimes we can all feel that way, I think, I can at least raise my hand and say, since you're here right now, you've made my life exponentially better, and you're the reason I'm literally alive right now. So remember that, okay? If you're having a bad day and you feel like you haven't done much, you're here, and that's incredible. And I might not be very important, but I'm glad I'm here, and it's because of you that I am. And so now I'm going to go into the voicemails. These are fun. A lot of them are just very kind compliments, so I didn't know how to integrate them into the question. Some of them are so fun. Some of them are spooky and silly, and like, they're just great. And I hope you all enjoy. And I hope I hope you hear your own voice. If you don't, I hope you love hearing your fellow listeners' voices and all the fun ways that they utilize the voicemail system. And I'm going to maybe put a little bit of commentary in between the voicemails. We'll see how my voice holds out. But if you don't stick around to the end, I just wanted to say thank you so much. And I love you. And I hope you're drinking water. And I hope you have sweet dreams. And now on to the voicemails.
OMG. We have so much in common, Shelby. My nickname is Mrs. Levitt because I'm an avid baker too. I would love to make a blue iced cake for us to enjoy together, Shelby. We even have the same birthday. Okay, well, we have the same birthday essence because, Shelby, your birthday coincidentally is my half birthday. Give or take a month or two, but those details don't matter when you're true kindred spirits like we are. Shelby, I know you said you used to be and still are a very shy person. Well, so am I. And that's why I haven't yet worked up the courage to actually approach you, Shelby. But I try to at least find you at every public event you said you'll be at. And maybe some that were not so public, but don't worry. I'm great at being inconspicuous, Shelby. I just realized I'm like a real life background actor in your life. Meant to be. Like, I loved seeing your Barbie pink outfit back at the Ren Fair in SoCal in April 2023. I had to scramble to find tickets and get my own Barbie outfit once you said you'd be there, Shelby, but it was totally worth it. Your blonde hair really completed your whole look. I do think we look better with our darker hair color now, though, don't you, Shelby? Plus, I was so excited when you got Clarabelle because I just love cats. Those snakes are my soulmates, too. But how perfect was it that I found the matching kitty from my neighbors down the street? So now I have Daisy DeVille because I feel like we're already BFFs. Shelby plus Ellie, BFFs forever. Too bad there's a silly time limit because I could just go on and on and on and on. But I'm resigned to adore you from afar, forever. I love you too, Shelby. And I hope you always have sweet dreams.
This tickled me to no end. This was so, I had to put it first. This was sent back in October, and you're a genius, and this is so funny. And I honestly don't remember posting the picture from the Ren Fair. I think my parents posted a picture of me at the Ren Fair in that pink outfit. So I don't know if you found my parents' Facebook, or if you know my parents, or if I did post it somewhere and didn't remember, but holy heck, man. That was
A very good detail. So glad we both look great in our new dark hair and your matching cat you stole from the neighbors. I love this. Thank you. Next caller, please.
Hey, my name is Nick, and I've been listening to your show for, say about 5 years now. My first episode was, I think it was the door episode, and I've been hooked ever since. I listen to it every night before I go to sleep when I'm in hotel rooms. I'll bring earbuds and fall asleep with my earbuds in so I can get in my dose of Scare You to Sleep. I have my friends pick a number between 5 and 300 and almost 50 now, I think. Because I've listened to them all so many times. I love what you do. You inspire me to continue writing. I love to write short stories and poetry, and I love what you do. I admire you so much, and I aspire to write like you do someday. So thank you so much.
Hi, Nick. First of all, you left this last August, and it was unread in my voicemail, so I don't think I included it in the last voicemail full episode. But you have. First of all, thank you for all your compliments, and I love the game you play with your friends to listen to the show. That makes me so happy. You have one of the most fantastic voices I have ever heard. Am I right, everyone? Like, you need your own ASMR channel. You need your own podcast. Your voice gave me goosebumps. Is that weird to say? I don't know, but it did. And I don't know if anyone's ever told you that before, but you truly have an incredible voice. Okay, now that I'm done being weird, let's go on to the next.
Hi, Shelby. It's your gallbladder. Oh, I thought we were having fun. What a shame. I had more planned for us, but you cut my life short to preserve yours. How selfish. Maybe I'll see you in the next place. Good luck.
Thank you, ghost of my gallbladder. I apologize you had to go, but you weren't doing your job, and you weren't working well. You also tried to kill me. That's what the doctor said. I almost died because of you, so sorry, you had to be defeated. I wanted to give a little intro to this next one because this was a butt dial I received. I don't know who it's from. I've actually received a few butt dials. One of them had to do with someone's dating someone else's boyfriend. It was salacious, but I left that one out. This one, however, is so wholesome, and it felt like I was peeking into someone's kitchen, and it felt like it reminded me of the times when my grandma was teaching me how to make biscuits, because that is what's happening. If you listen closely, someone is teaching someone else how to make biscuits. I don't know how I got this butt dial. I don't know how you would butt dial a random number. I don't know how this happened, but I'm so glad it did. And enjoy with me.
You really didn't have a chance to keep them the way they should be. You know what I mean? Yeah, I think that's what it was. And it's okay if they kind of fall apart too, because all that butter is going to make them come back together. So as long as they can freeze together, that'll be fine. And then we can probably do one more, just like I did before. You might get 2 or 3 more biscuits out, and then you're good.
Wasn't that adorable? I loved that. Again, it's like we were peeking into someone's kitchen in a little part of their life. So I think this is the end of the road for me doing any more speaking. And I really want to get this episode out. And it's actually later in the day than I thought. I had a doctor's appointment. I'm sorry, I threw off my day. But anyway, this next one is from Bosnia. I think that's what the caller says. But I wanted to let you know that if this is you, your message cut off. But I'd love to hear the rest of your story if you want to type it out and send it in for a True Stories episode. So, but there are creepy parts in this story. So I did still want to include it. You'll also hear as the messages play on some heavy breathing that I received, a message from our friend Jack Billings, and some teens who say they're experimenting with leaving voicemails. Very cute. And there's a creepy warning in there somewhere.
I'm going to put these all out of order. They're everything from, like I said, the earliest ones going back to last August 27th. That's the creepy warning, all the way up to just the other day. So enjoy the rest of the episode. Enjoy these creepy stories from this caller who unfortunately got cut off. And I will see you for the next voicemail full. Good night.
Hey Shelby, my name is Anna and I'm from Bosnia and Herzegovina, and I just want to say that I had no idea I would ever actually manage to get this call. And it's amazing. Your show is amazing. I love your show, and I don't know. It's so weird being on this call. I never really spoke to someone like this before. I'm sorry, I'm rambling. I'm being silly. But anyway, there is something creepy I kind of wanted to share with you, because I'm not sure with who else I can share it with without sounding like a crazy person. Ever since I moved to this building when I was a kid, I always felt like there was something in our apartment. Like, it's strange. I don't know really how to explain it. It's nothing too creepy compared to the things you read on your show, but it's still kind of weird, and it's getting a bit more bizarre recently. For example, whenever I play music, my goddamn Bluetooth speaker just ends up flipping on the ground. Like, if it's on the table, it gets flipped off onto the ground, and that freaks me out because I always purposefully put the speaker right in the middle of the table just so that I can't be the one who can flip it over, and it's so weird. Or when things vanish, like I know, for example, that when I place my phone on the table, I always triple check that my phone is on the table, but then suddenly it's under the couch. And the personally most creepiest one is, oh man, this one's so... I remember I was watching a movie once. I was alone in my apartment. My parents were out, and I was just chilling. I was having fun. I was watching a movie, and then it got really cold all of a sudden. You know that feeling like when someone's watching you and it's like so bizarrely intense. I didn't know how to react. And my balcony door was open. This is important. And then I paused the movie, went to the bathroom, and then I kind of just washed my face like, oh, it's in your head. You're watching a scary movie. Of course, you're going to be thinking of shit. And oh boy. And then, when I entered my apartment.
Hi, Shelby. I have your message and wanted to tell you that you shouldn't ever leave your message with people. You're not safe. You're not safe. Well, what are we going to do now? Going to go somewhere? Going to go? Is this something you're trying to find out by somebody? Are you trying to lead somebody? I don't know. Well, same time, kind of late and dark, isn't it? Yeah. At the same time. Yes, we'll never know. Maybe you'll never know. Maybe you'll never know. Anyway, Shelby, I'm joking. Alright. This is Charlie from Maryland, and I'm from the UK originally, and I'm joking. God, felt really bad about all of that, and God, I can't do it. I can't do it. Anyway, I hope you have a good one. Take care. All right. Bye-bye.
Guten Morgen! It's me, Jack Billing! Yep! It is Record Store Day, and I'm currently en route to a record store. It's raining awful, so, but, you know, I knew that this was a crazy day and people camp out all night and, you know, just wait to get in to get their sweet vinyl. Because people like their recordings on vinyl, it makes it real. Hold on, need some sweet tea. Oh, sugar pop! I spilled it on my pantaloons. Okay, I'm back. I tried to kind of shake it around a bit. My iced tea, sweet iced tea, and I don't have my stirring knife with me. Left it at home. Stupid Jack. Now you have wet pants. Just part of it. Right over my cell phone spot. Any Louie Lou. Red day, I was camping. But about half an hour or so ago, I realized those aren't even old anymore. Pieces round like a record. So at least I had that going for me. Well, I'm gonna go stand online now and talk to strangers, and buy up a lot of vinyl records that I'm going to put on my shelf and collect stuff, because I stream all my music, but you know, bragging rights, I guess. I hope they have a lot of Guns N' Roses. Okay. Shelby, give me a call sometime, huh? I hope you're doing all right. I like you as a friend. Jack Billing. Have a good weekend. And, you know, get bacon. Yeah.
Hi, Shelby. I love you.
Hi, Shelby. I just wanted to say that I absolutely loved your podcast, and I constantly re-listen to your podcast over and over again, and I just wanted to let you know you are doing a great job, and I hope you continue doing it. Plus, I keep getting my friends, and I even got my mom into your podcast because it is so awesome. Have a good rest of your day.
Hey Shelby, how are you? Hope you're doing well, love. And I actually, you know what? It sounds like your production value's gone up quite a bit. Anyway, this is Moose. I was from episode 324, I think, in your fourth voicemail episode, and I was sharing an episode in which I said it was an individual that said, "Can I come in?" At any rate, I still don't know what episode that is because I can't find it, but the episode, I don't know if you wrote it, but you definitely voice acted it, and it was an individual that was trying to get into a person's apartment, and it was based off of an actual case of a person that was dressed up as a delivery driver, and then they'd showed up as something else again, and eventually got in and unfortunately murdered the person. But this was one of the craziest things I'd ever heard. And I think it's from whereabouts of where I moved to. I live in Maryland, and I think I moved there from Berkshire, but I don't know where exactly that is in Maryland. So anyway, I hope that you're doing well. It sounds like you are, and love the show. Your production quality is going up quite a bit, and I actually recently went back and listened to your very first episode to see how long you've come along, because I was listening to some of your newer ones, and with the music and the sound effects and the you don't have breath on mic, and your voice is much more steady. You've really come a long way in these 6 years. It really is. It's very, very good. You're one of my favorite podcasts, and will continue to be. All right, I'm going to keep this one short. Okay. Anyway, love. Ta-ta.
Dr. Dot, it's a weird voicemail. Me and my friend are, experimenting with voicemails. Yours right now is at the bottom. Go ahead and give me a call back if you have feedback on that. So, yeah.
Hey, Shelby. It's your fellow Southern California Virgo again. I remember you saying that my last phone call was cut off by reception or something, but I guess I take it as another chance to leave it again, and hopefully it reaches in the whole message this time. So, I was saying that if you're a Mitch Hedberg fan, you'd understand this joke, where if there is someone actually named Dr. Acula out there, if whether or not they have good business because of people wondering if they're dealing with a vampire or just somebody who's a regular person with the last name Acula, and they're just like, well, I guess I shouldn't have become a doctor because everybody thinks I'm just out here trying to drink their blood. Oh, sorry, that probably came out bad. It wasn't worded properly. The first one was, but yeah, just something along those lines. Also, the other day, just as a side note, I thought I saw the shadow of a cat out of the corner of my eye in a place where I live right now, which doesn't make any sense to me because, well, I don't own a cat and never have. But also, it's just, I could swear it was sitting on the counter and I saw it jump down to the floor. And of course, obviously that grabbed my attention. And when I looked over, there was nothing there. So that definitely, made my heart jump. I hadn't had that kind of a scare in a while, actually, but definitely felt like I needed to note that. Anyway, hope everything is going well and hope that Clarabelle is being as feisty as ever. We love seeing her. But yeah, take care and talk to you soon.
Hello. I just wanted to say hi. I can't really think of anything. I like your podcast. Sorry, I don't have much to say. Bye. Hope you have a good day. Good day or night.
Hello, Shelby Novak. I'm sorry to hear that you ended up in the hospital. I just want to wish you a happy convalescence, that you get well quickly, and know that we're all cheering for you and hoping you feel better quickly. One of your longtime fans, never called before, never, I've emailed, I think, once or twice, but I just want to let you know that I know that we are all wishing you the best and very glad that you got some help before anything really, really unfixable happened. We will be listening for your recovery. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Hi, Shelby. This message is for Clarabelle. So if you're not Clarabelle, don't listen. Meow, 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 meow.
Hi, Shelby.
I just listened to voicemail. Well, I wasn't planning on leaving a message, but I just wanted to tell you that, hey, you know what? Your existence has made all the difference in the world. Your podcast got me through COVID and through some really rough times. And I am so happy to see that you're doing well. And I just want to tell you that I'm proud of you. Things are hard. Life is hard. But you know what? You've always been there for us, and we're here for you. Keep doing what you're doing. You are absolutely fantastic, and I love you. All right. Have a great day. Bye.
Hi, Shelby. This is a long-time listener who's here, and sending you all my best. I saw you're in hospital. A photo of you. Hope you're doing well. And I'm praying for you. Not sure what your religion is. At the same time, it doesn't matter. So, I'm praying for you. Make you get better. I think you do well. Can't wait to see what you do next. Be well, love.
Hey, Shelby. Big fan of the show. I've been listening for a little over a year and a half. I think a year and a half at least. I came to make a collaboration with Creepy. I love the story. I thought I'd quickly share one of my stories. I hope it's short enough. Otherwise, I am screwed. Anyway, rain poured down on 6th Street. The drain was beginning to overflow. A flood was bound to happen if the rain didn't stop pouring. John walked down the flooding street, heading to his house. All John wanted to do was head to bed. I'd give a damn about eating and he could barely stay away. As he went to unlock his door, he realized that was unlocked. For fuck's sake, how the hell did I forget to lock a damn door? He muttered under his breath. As he went into his house, he noticed some things were off. It's like Carol wasn't in the kitchen. Usually she would be slaving away at the stove. He hated how much time she spent in the kitchen trying to make him a dish that was just making drool from the smell. His dick of an ex-husband would beat her if she didn't make a meal for him. John would never hurt her. As he went to his and Carol's bedroom, he noticed an odd smell. Salty, coppery, bloody. He began thinking to the bedroom, fear flushed in his mind. As he opened the door, tears started streaming down his face and his work just were confirmed. She had been killed. In that moment, he remembered. He had heard footsteps when he opened the door. There was someone in the house with him. Before he could escape, a knife went right through his neck. John's final moments, all he could feel was the blood drip down his neck and chest. Yeah, I'm not good at writing. I tried my best. I'm planning on turning this into a short format. If not, anyway, that's not important. I do have a single question for you. What is your favorite horror film? Doesn't have to be one that is extremely known. I have two that I can't decide between. One of them is Live Screen. You can actually find it on YouTube. Not gonna spoil it. And then Nope. Shockingly good film. I was not expecting it to be as good as it was. Yeah, I just love Nope. Jeez, the creature's oh god, the creature's creepy. Anyways, yeah. I was just listening to the voicemail episode. It's just been so long since I listened to you that I forgot about the voicemail. But I thought I'd send you one. Bye.